Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. When you hear the name Cleopatra, what's the first image that pops into your head? For many, it's Elizabeth Taylor in all her Hollywood glamour, a legendary seductress who charmed the most powerful men in the world, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. This image of Cleopatra as a femme fatale, a woman who used her beauty and allure as her primary weapons, has been burned into our collective consciousness for centuries. But is that the whole story? Or is it possible that this version of Cleopatra is a carefully constructed piece of propaganda designed to diminish the accomplishments of one of history's most formidable rulers? Today, we peeling back the layers of myth and legend to ask a crucial question. Was Cleopatra merely a seductress? Or was she a brilliant strategic ruler in her own right? Let's dive in and uncover the truth. First, let's set the stage. Cleopatra the Seventh Philipeta was an Egyptian by blood. She was the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic kingdom, a dynasty of Greek origin that had ruled Egypt for nearly 300 years. She ascended to the throne in a time of immense turmoil. The Ptolemaic kingdom was in decline, and the shadow of Rome loomed large, threatening to swallow Egypt whole. Cleopatra wasn't just handed a stable, prosperous kingdom. She inherited a nation on the brink of collapse, facing internal strife and the ever-present threat of Roman annexation. Her primary goal, from day one, was the preservation of Egypt's independence and the security of her dynasty. This wasn't a game of romance. It was a high-stakes game of political survival. To understand her brilliance, you have to look at her education. Cleopatra was a polymath. Ancient sources, like the historian Plutarch, tell us she was the first Ptolemaic ruler to actually learn the Egyptian language. Think about that for a moment. For 300 years, her family had ruled Egypt without speaking the language of its people. Cleopatra, however, spoke not only Egyptian and her native Greek, but also at least 7 other languages. This wasn't just a party trick. It was a powerful political tool. It allowed her to communicate directly with foreign dignitaries without relying on translators, giving her a huge advantage in negotiations. She was also well-versed in mathematics, philosophy, astronomy, and oratory. She wasn't just a pretty face. She was one of the most educated women of her era, a true intellectual powerhouse. Now, let's talk about the men in her life, starting with Julius Caesar. When Caesar arrived in Egypt, Cleopatra was in the middle of a civil war with her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII. She was exiled and in a precarious position. The story of her being smuggled to Caesar rolled up in a carpet is famous. But let's reframe it. Instead of seeing it as a seductive ploy, see it as an act of incredible daring and strategic genius. She bypassed her brother's entire army and secured a private audience with the single most powerful man in the world. It was a bold, risky move that put her directly at the center of power. Her relationship with Caesar wasn't just a love affair. It was a political alliance. By bearing him a son, Caesarion, she linked her bloodline to Rome's, creating a potential heir to both great empires and solidifying Egypt's position as a crucial Roman ally, not just a conquered province. This was a masterstroke of diplomacy. After Caesar's assassination, Rome was once again plunged into chaos. Who emerged as a key player in the East? Mark Antony. And how did Cleopatra meet him? The accounts described her arriving at Tarsus on a magnificent barge, dressed as the goddess Venus. Again, this is often portrayed as pure seduction, but look deeper. This wasn't just a grand entrance, it was a calculated display of wealth and power. She was showing Antony, who desperately needed funds for his military campaigns, that Egypt was a prize worth having as an ally. She was presenting herself not as a supplicant, but as an equal, a queen of a rich and powerful kingdom. Their alliance was mutually beneficial. Antony got the financial and military backing he needed, and Cleopatra got a Roman protector who would help her secure and even expand her kingdom. She regained territories that Egypt had lost, and for a time, she restored the Ptolemaic kingdom to its former glory. The narrative of Cleopatra, the seductress, was largely written by her enemies, particularly by Octavian, who would later become Emperor Augustus. After he defeated Antony and Cleopatra at the Battle of Actium, Octavian needed to justify his war against a fellow Roman, Mark Antony. How did he do it? By launching a vicious smear campaign. He couldn't portray Antony as a victim of a brilliant political strategist. Instead, he painted Cleopatra as a decadent, foreign sorceress, a temptress who had ensnared a noble Roman and turned him against his own country. He used xenophobia and misogyny to create a villain. This Roman propaganda depicted her as a fatal monster and a whore queen. This version of the story was far more convenient for Rome. It diminished her intellect and political acumen, reducing her to a one-dimensional caricature that served Octavian's political agenda. And unfortunately, it's this version that has largely survived the test of time. So, was she a seductress? Of course. Cleopatra was a charismatic and intelligent woman who understood the power of presentation and charm. She undoubtedly used her personal relationships to her political advantage. But to reduce her to asterisk, just asterisk, that is to do her a profound disservice. She was a shrewd and capable ruler who navigated a treacherous political landscape with incredible skill. She was a cunning diplomat, a multilingual intellectual, and a commander who fought to protect her people and her kingdom as sovereignty against the encroaching might of Rome. The fact that she was a woman who dared to wield power in a man's world made her an easy target for character assassination. The real Cleopatra was not just a seductress. She was a strategic ruler, a patriot, and one of the most fascinating and competent leaders in all of ancient history. Her story is a powerful reminder of how history is often written by the victors. What do you think? Was Cleopatra's legacy unfairly twisted by Roman propaganda? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective on this. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss another video. See you next time.